pleasure to be an evaluator for such a long speech today. Will sharpen my skills. So Dave is speaking from the engaging humor pathway. This is a level 5 presentation. Deliver your message with humor in 18 to 22 minutes. The purpose of the project is for the member to practice developing and presenting a longer humorous speech. The speech will be engaging, humorous, keynote style speech with a core message, a strong core message. Should demonstrate excellent presentation skills, which will be easy for Dave, and deliver compelling content.
Thank you. Today's speech, the politician's word salad. He first told this story about his detective character, Victor Cupid, and how he exposed the deceitful politician about 2 years ago, which was before I joined Babylon or any Toastmaster club. But because of this length, he presented in 3 installments of standard 5 to 7 minute speeches. And many people gave him feedback that the story was too hard to follow. In the later episodes, they miss or forget what went down in the earlier speeches, or if they were not at Toastmasters. But now they welcome the opportunity to present the story in the entirety in one go as a speech in a longer after dinner speech format. Also, if anyone is a little bit confused by the strange words in this speech, Dave has a printed word list you can pick up. Members can pick up after the meeting. I'm very curious about this. Let's welcome Dave.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guest. It was another grim day in the city as I sat alone in my office. For those of you who have not met me before, name's Victor Cupid. I'm a private detective. I say the day was grim. Actually, it was fair and warmer. But I call it grim because on television, they interrupted my favorite figure skating competition to broadcast a political speech. I hate election season, especially presidential elections, which drag on longer than those epic poems they made us read in high school. But my misery was somewhat assuaged by the arrival, like Venus rising from the waves, of the beautiful and fantastically intelligent Sena. And can you blame me for my feelings? Where else in this dreary city can you find a Slavic version of Jessica Rabbit with some Disney princess wholesomeness thrown in for good measure? Hello, Kotik, she said with her usual Slavic pet name for me. I let myself in because your secretary isn't here. I know, I said. She's out with a case of dramamania. Didn't she have that last week? No, last week she was out because she had to stay with her daughter, who was inflicted with a case of her chronic anexophilia. Sena narrowed her eyes. Do you know what those ailments are? Well, of course I do, I said. They're, well, what do you expect of me? The sign on the door says private detective, not internal medicine. Sena whipped out a little volume from her pocketbook and consulted it. Ah, yes, dramamania, the compulsion to always go on road trips. It is? She turned to another page. Anexophilia, the tendency, especially common among teenagers, to fall in love with unworthy jerks. What is that book? She handed it to me. The Immigrant's Guide to Progressive English Vocabulary by H. Kaplan. Now that I am a citizen of this fair country, she said, I want to improve my English vocabulary. Improve your vocabulary with these words? I don't even understand them. Dodecahedron? Phenakistoscope? Sesquipedalian? It's simple, Kotik. A dodecahedron is a geometric mathematical solid with 12 equal faces. A phenakistoscope was an early 19th century device, the first to show motion pictures. And sesquipedalian, I love that one. Sesquipedalian is a very long word meaning of or pertaining to any very long word. It also has a big brother, hippopotamonstra sesquipedalian, which is a very, very, very long word meaning pertaining to any very, very, very long word. I see, I said. In other words, hippopotamonstra sesquipedalian is itself a hippopotamonstra sesquipedalian word. Just so, she said, but there are some good short ones too. Take, for example, groak. Groak, a very simple 5-letter word meaning to stand around silently watching people eating and hoping against hope to being asked to join them. I was feeling distinctly dizzy by now. Apparently, if the words weren't long, the definitions were. But nobody even uses these words, I protested. They're not in people's lexicon. All the more reason to know them, Sena said proudly. Who wants to have the same old lexicon as everyone else? Before I could point out some obvious holes in her reasoning, there came a knock at the door. Come in, through the ingress. She seemed determined to show off. Into the room strode a stately and dignified-looking woman who I couldn't help thinking I had seen on television somewhere. Mr. Cupid, she said, I am Congresswoman Rhea Saganson. I am running for president, you see, and you're not going to give a campaign speech here and now, are you? I said. No, she said, but my main opponent in the upcoming party primaries, Governor Frederick Fudelminster, is giving a big one this weekend at his big annual fundraising event, Governor Fred's famous finger food fry, where he intends to convince the voters to vote for him instead of me. But why would they vote for him instead of you, Sena said. You most popular politician in country. You've had long distinguished career of unwavering devotion to the welfare of all the people. Rhea shook her head sadly. Unfortunately, that doesn't make up for Governor Fred's long distinguished career of unwaveringly kissing up to the party bosses and big money interests. Why he need big money donations anyway, Sena said. So he can run ads smearing his opponents, I explained. Quite so, said Rhea. I want to take this nation forward into a new era of peace, prosperity, and brotherly love. So, of course, Governor Fred tries to make out that I'm a loopy new ager. Governor Fred, I said bitterly. How pretentious can you get? Underneath all that shucks folksiness, he's as corrupt as the devil's bookmaker. And I've heard his speeches. They're incomprehensible word salads with high-calorie platitude dressing. Yet everyone goes on about how intelligently he talks. Yes, said Rhea, I'm afraid some people think that a person must be intelligent if he's incomprehensible. Has anyone ever tried dissecting these speeches of his, said Sena, figured out what he's really saying? What are you suggesting, I said, that we make use of that crazy dictionary of yours? Listen, Kotik, I've already proven its usefulness by pointing out the deceitful language your secretary has been using. If it work on secretary, it work on politician. I see, I said. In other words, if we can reverse engineer his word salads to find the secret sauce, his name will be mustard. Quite just so, Sena said. If there's one good reason to know hard and difficult words, it's to call out other people who use hard and difficult words to obfuscate and deceive. Sena's logic, as infectious as her bewitching smile, had me convinced. You can count on us, Congresswoman, I told her. We will expose Governor Fred's corruption, or my name isn't Lyman Schwenk. My secret's out. What? Victor Cupid, not the real name? Well, I had to think of something to hang on the door. Who would ever hire a hard-boiled detective called Lyman Schwank? Well, that settles it, Sena said with a twinkle in her eye. From now on, whenever I'm annoyed at you, I will just call you Lyman. Oh, God. I was not in a good mood as Sena and I arrived that Saturday at the big, pretentious outdoor political shindig. The sun was blazingly hot. The finger foods were dry and shriveled from overfrying. And I was frankly a bit skeptical of this scheme of Sena's to expose Governor Fred using only a dictionary of hazy and convoluted words, even though I could not help conceiving that some of those hazy and convoluted words were quite interesting. For example, humorous, meaning to feel happy or fortunate as a result of being a good person. Hemi-demi semiquaver, which is a long word for a very short but a very beautiful musical note. And my particular favorites, crudel, which means to cuddle up to, and canoodle, meaning to caress. Because you enjoy canoodling and canoodling with me, yes? As usual, the more sultry Sena's voice got, the more sweaty I got. But I was dealt a metaphorical cold shower in the form of an announcement over the overly loud speakers. Good afternoon, fellow patriots, and welcome to Governor Fred's famous finger food fry. I like how it says in the name that it's famous. Yeah. Well, said our client Rhea, walking up to us, he has to point it out because most people don't know it's famous. Before I could say any more, Governor Fred himself strode in and rudely butted in. Ah, Rhea Saganson, so glad you could make it. I didn't even realize you were still alive, you old bat. This was rich, considering that Governor Fred was about 10 years older than her. Well, of course she's still alive. You're running against her, aren't you? Dear Sena, it's like she's from another planet where snarky sarcasm isn't a thing. Of course I'm running against her, said Governor Fred loftily. Unlike her, I'm no lofty pipe dreamer. I'm a realist with a realistic agenda. Realistic agenda, scoffed Rhea. A bunch of tiny, half-hearted tweaks when the suffering of the people calls for monumental and enormous change in our political and economic systems. Oh, Rhea, you're so adorable. Governor Fred gave a smug smirk that even a Quaker would be tempted to punch. You think the world should be a sunshine and rainbow-filled paradise where everyone is treated fairly and lives a happy and meaningful life. But this is the real world, my friend, with winners and losers. And soon I will be the winner. And you, well, I suppose you'll always have fans among those moron do-gooder activists and who naively support you. Well, time for my big speech soon. Enjoy the finger foods. And he swaggered off. The nerve of him, said Sena. The way he talks about you, Rhea. I don't care about myself so much, said Rhea. It's the way he talks about my supporters. Naive do-gooders indeed. They're good, honest people who have been taken advantage of and let down by our corrupt political system. So have Governor Fred's supporters too, of course, but unfortunately they've let themselves be taken in by all of Governor Fred's smooth talk. I mean, look at this crowd. They outright worship him. Well, don't worry, Rhea. They may worship him now, but soon we, with the help of good old Mr. Kaplan, will expose Governor Fred's true colors. I promise you, by every hippopotamonstrous sesquipedalian word that I hold dear. Just at that moment, the man of the hour was announced, and Governor Fred strode onto the stage to thunderous applause. He was dressed in an immaculate three-piece suit with a patriotic flag lapel, so that everyone would believe he was a great leader. And as the live band ramped up its nauseatingly cheesy music, he gave his speech. My friends, I am much touched by your esteem, which I know I don't deserve. After all, I came from humble beginnings, earning my degree in applied pseudology at the tender age of 20. As your president, I will uphold our traditional family values of troglodyte androcracy. I pledge to put a hearty tagamag on every kitchen table and a Stumer rebate in every bank account. Under my leadership, my fellow Snolligosters will unite with me in creative malversation, and a bright new era of pakistocracy will begin. As Governor Fred finished his speech, the audience cheered and waved signs saying things like, "We love you, Fred, Governor Fred for president," and Rhea Saganson stinks. On the face of it, it seemed to me at least that things looked pretty bleak for our client. However, Sena was downright gleeful as she flipped through her book and put it and inserted bookmarks. After the speech came the town hall meeting, during which people could ask questions of Governor Fred, which he would then eloquently evade. Sena strode up to the microphone, a little bit like a velociraptor stalking her prey, I couldn't help thinking, and said, "Governor Fred, I have a question for you. You said in your speech just now that you would uphold our values of troglodyte androcracy. And you said that you would put a CAGMAG on every table and a Stumer in every bank account. I don't think these good people know what those terms are. Would you kindly explain?" "Oh, those are just technical government terms. It'd be too boring to go into details." Said Sena, opening the book. "I think they would not find it quite so boring to know that Kagamag means bad food, and a Stumer is a rubber check. Also, a troglodyte is a cave dweller, and androcracy means tyrannical rule of men over women. So when you say you want to return to our traditional values, do you mean you want to go back to the good old days when male chauvinist cavemen dragged their women around by the hair?" No, of course not. That's not." And Sena plowed ruthlessly on. "You said that you majored in applied pseudology. Very interesting, given that a pseudologist is a chronic and habitual liar." "And you said you and your fellow Snolligosters would unite in malversation. These are two really good ones. Since a Snolligoster is a politician without any morals or principles whatsoever, and malversation means you will all be cut up together." "No, that's not, I didn't mean, get that damn woman out of here." Governor Fred's cool suavity was entirely evaporated now, and he looked like a raving lunatic. "And you said that you would herald in a bright new era of kakistocracy." Sena made a dramatic pause before she read out this last definition very slowly and carefully. "Kakistocracy, government ruled by the very worst people." There was a terrible silence as the crowd took all this in. And then they erupted in screams and yells of fury. "We've been tricked! He's a fraud! And to think I donated money and my teddy bear to his campaign! Wait, my friends, I can explain!" But the irate pandemonium was so great that Governor Fred had to make a run for it and leave his famous fried finger foods to rot in the sun. That evening, back at home, as Sena and I sat by a crackling fire, she asked me if I thought that our client Rhea would win the election now. I said to her, well, as that famous activist song has it, Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe. No. But on the other hand, I've been guilty of being overly cynical before. And at least we proved to some people of Governor Fred's deceptive corruption. Maybe someday people will learn not to let the issues that matter take a back seat to starry-eyed worshiping of individual political personalities. A little bit too much like children getting all excited about seeing Donald Duck or Dobie at Disneyland. Says the man who's had a lifelong crush on Mary Poppins, Sena observed unnecessarily. True, but you're right, Kotik. Nothing will change for better until the people learn not to put politicians on pedestals, but to hold all of them accountable, even the ones that seem to be on our side. I think we made positive steps in that direction today, along with learning some very interesting words that are impossible to spell, I added. Sena laughed. My love, I've seen you write. You have trouble spelling words like cat and dog. And you're the only person I know who spells so badly that it causes your spell checker to crash. True, I admitted. However, with you in my life, sweetheart, I can hope to improve. We smiled at each other and kissed. And as the stereo blared melodic hemi-demi semiquavers, I felt distinctly humorous as we embarked on a romantic evening of extensive poodling and canoodling. Madam Toastmaster.